Good morning, everybody. My name is Joni Hibden, if I haven't had a chance to meet you, and I'm the past president for AZHREF. Really grateful that all of you have chosen to be here this morning, especially with the dreary weather, and very excited to have our speaker, Isabelle Tierney, with us today. I had the honor of meeting Isabelle about 5 years ago. I remember at that time feeling so stressed, again, was going to lose my stuff. If it had not been for the work that Isabelle introduced me to, I would not be able to carry all of the buckets that I carry today with the sense of ease that I have today. I mean, the work that she does is transformational, and I'm really excited that you've chosen to be here and to share all of this with this organization and all of our HR leaders, because I think you're going to find some benefit out of it, especially during year end, especially during the holiday season. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to Isabelle.
Thank you so much. I have a mic. So I'm good. Yes, welcome from Burnout to Balance, neuroscience-based reset for HR leaders. How many of you are in HR in this room? Pretty much everybody? Almost everybody? Yeah, great. What are other people? Coaches? What are other professions? Sales and recruiting. Okay, good. So I want to check in that I'm in the right room, and because this afternoon, this afternoon I have a talk on stress management for beekeepers. So I want to make sure that the pain points that I'm going to point out to you are the right pain points, because they have very tough pain points, those beekeepers. I'm joking, by the way. So what I would love from all of you, because for me what's most interesting, I hate just a monologue. I love when I get to know a room. So you're going to have 3 hand gestures that you're going to get to do with these questions, right? I want to know what stressors you're facing most today, all right? So this is, you don't raise your hand, not at all. Don't have that. Like holiday stress, none of you will have it, I probably assume, right? And then go like this, like, yeah, that's a little bit of my stress, and then enthusiastic yes if you have it. So, right, so we're going to start with remote hybrid workplace. Is that still a stressor for you right now? No? Oh, okay, 1. Okay. Go on. What about, say that again? Yes, that is a big one. Global economic uncertainty. Let's start with that. We'll separate it. Okay, wow. And then AI uncertainty. Wow. You see, this is what I love, right? And this is part of my work, is like not making assumptions. Like my assumption was that all of you were going to be struggling with AI because there's so much pressure and there's adoption. I imagine you have a lot to do. So interesting. All right, compassion fatigue. Let's talk about that. Compassion, caregiver fatigue. How many of you have that? Okay, got it. End of year pressure. From what I understand about HR, like Joni's story, you have so many things that are due, deadlines, this and that. Okay, got it. And then holidays. Wow, okay, so am I missing anything? Joni, what am I missing? What is stressing you that are external stressors right now? What am I missing in this list? Workplace changes. Okay, can you, Joni, will you pass her the mic?
I will.
Say more about that. Hold on 1 sec.
Pardon me, excuse me.
And maybe we'll have Sammy take the second mic.
So I know I'm not the only one whose organization is experiencing change. We just had one of our senior leaders announce her retirement, so that is a lot of change for an organization of our size. But I was talking to Therese about changes at her org, so it is related to bullet 2, but more of what is happening inside very specific businesses, because I think business as a whole is experiencing a lot of change right now, whether you're going through M&A, whether there's org changes. So that's,
got it.
Does that help?
Thank you. Yeah. The presentation I did was this huge healthcare or nonprofit organization, and they had just merged a few years ago, and so they were trying to bring 2 cultures together, and there was a lot of stress going on and be world class. Yes.
2. 1 is personal health, and just the cost of healthcare is a big stressor for me personally. Don't want to push that on anybody else. That's 1. And I would say 2 is just when you're in business formation, Working in something outside your comfort zone, sales and marketing, can be a little bit of a stressor.
Yeah, thank you for that. Joni and I went in May this year to Work Human. And one of the things that I'm also hearing many of you are going through is like, what's the role of HR? What place do you have in the C-suite? Are you being listened to? Is that a thing too? Like you're actually really important to organizations, but you don't feel seen like that? Yeah, you're smiling. Do you want to say anything about that? No? Okay, good. Okay, well, I have good news and I have bad news for you. Which one do you want first? Okay, we'll do the bad news. There's not a single thing that I'm going to teach you today to get rid of any of these stressors. Okay, got it? That's the bad news. You want to know the good news? So the good news is I'm going to teach you an internal way to manage, as Joni was saying, to self-regulate yourself so that even when all of this is going on, when partners, when children, when traffic, whatever stressors you will encounter, if you practice this tool that I'm going to teach you today, I'm not joking. You know how sometimes people exaggerate? I am not exaggerating this, that this tool you're going to learn today, if you use it and you practice it, you can actually learn to live your life being into a balanced, regulated nervous system. And so what do you guys know about balanced, regulated nervous system? Come up with some qualities of who you become when your nervous system is regulated and balanced. What's that? Present, yes, present. And I'll just repeat, Joni, that way we do. What else? You can cope better, yes. What else?
You're not in fight or flight.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So let's go a little bit deeper into that. So, let me go to my story. So there's all the external stuff that's on paper, right? I have 2 master's degrees, blah, 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 blah. I mean, maybe that's interesting to you. I mean, I don't want to, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Colorado. But to me, what's more interesting is that I was born, in my childhood, I experienced all kinds of trauma. And so the reason I tell you that is because it set me up for having a nervous system, which nobody called it that then, that was very dysregulated. So the way that I managed my trauma was when I lived in Switzerland, and when I was 14, I moved to the States, and I went to an all-girl boarding school and promptly learned to develop an eating disorder. It was what everybody did in that school. There were no boys, and so we had nothing to do but to study and to diet. And, so that was really, really fun. And so, now, just like some people can drink and be fine, go through college and drink a lot in college and walk out of college and be fine, and others become addicts. That was for me. I was perfectly set up that because of my trauma, that was number one, right? Because of my personality, I'm a bit of an overachiever and I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Anybody else in this room a perfectionist? And yes. And because of the trauma that I grew up with, I became what is actually, I think, the most difficult of all qualities to let go of, a people pleaser. Anybody else a people pleaser in here? Yeah. I tell you something, I have done 30 years of self-development in myself. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, about 30 years. People pleasing has actually been the hardest one because it's so rewarded. We are rewarded for being overachievers. We're rewarded for being people pleasers. We're so kind. We're known to be the one who will always help. And I imagine in HR, I think people pleasing must really help. It helps others. I don't know how much it helps us, right? So childhood sets me up for already having a nervous system that's wound up. Eating disorder, I go to Tufts undergrad, I then get 2 master's degree, one at BU, another one at Tufts. I am an overachiever with no clue what to do because I am so disconnected from myself because, I am out of my body because of my trauma. So I'm just smart and I just do school and school and school and school. And got married, had 3 kids, ran a household, and so, the stressors, the external stressors pile up. And eventually I read this book, I don't know if any of you remember it, it's called The Celestine Prophecy. Any of you remember that book? And it was a book that just opened me up spiritually, and I went then onto this deep spiritual journey and realized that I wanted to use my wounding, right, my trauma, to help people. And so I became a licensed marriage family therapist, and because of my healing of my eating disorder, I then became an eating disorder expert. And so remember the part about a people pleaser who does not know how to say no, somebody who's an overachiever, somebody who's a type A. I built my practice. I was told when I moved to Boulder, you will never make more than $20,000 because there are more therapists per capita than anywhere in the United States, right? Because Boulder are the fittest people and the most mentally healthy people. And I was like, I'll show you. Like, yeah, right. Like, I'm sure. So in 1 year, I built a full private practice. I was seeing 8 clients a day, 5 days a week, most of whom were eating disorders, which is actually the highest, most dangerous mental illness, is actually the highest rate of suicide for anorexia, and raising 3 kids and having a husband. So you can imagine that blew up is it in my face? I don't know if that's the expression. It blew up for me. And so 2 things happened that changed my life. You know those crisis moments? Any of you have had a crisis moment that has led you to change your life? Yeah. Yeah, and so part of yeah, okay, I'll say that in a minute. Number 1, I got diagnosed with adrenal burnout. And so adrenal burnout 10 years ago, well, this was 15 years ago, nobody knew what that was. And so I kept going to the doctor saying, I'm exhausted, I can't function. And she'd be like, you're fine, you're fine, maybe sleep more. No, I can't sleep, that's part of burnout. And eventually I went to an alternative doctor who finally did his saliva test and diagnosed me, and it was incredible. But the adrenal burnout, I had to completely change the way that I worked because I could not do 8 hours, 8 clients a day, 5 days a week. And then the number 2 crisis that occurred around the same time is I went through a divorce. And so you guys don't know this, because I haven't said anything yet. Over there is my daughter. This is my older daughter, Sam. And so, wait, this is not the first time. No, this is like the 5th time I present live in front of you. So she knows the story. She was a part of it. She lived it. The good news is because Brian and I, loved each other a lot, but they were circumstances, and my circumstances, what I'm responsible for is my burnout. He was 20th on my list of priorities. Everybody else was on the list. I think I did always a good job parenting, so thank God my trauma was like, no, I'm always going to be a good parent, but I had no clue how to be a partner. And so Brian and I divorced, and between these 2 events, I just resolved to create something for myself that I could use so that I could have the success and the impact that I wanted to have, but that wouldn't be so costly. Anybody else want more of that? Like, you want to be able to have the impact, the success you want, but you don't want it to burn you out and to deplete you and to have, it can have costs on physical health, it can have your costs on emotional health, relational health. We're going to talk about all that. And so I am a psychology, science, spiritual nerd, and so I curated from all these different modalities this method that you're going to learn today. And one of my gifts, which is an interesting gift, is I take very complicated concepts and I simplify them. So I always say this to people in these presentations: do not underestimate the simplicity of this work. Do not, the amazing thing is, any of you have young children in this room? Yeah, okay, great. You'll be able to bring this to your child, and your child will be able to understand this and use it. And then someone who's done 30 years of self-development, I use it every single day. So you're not going to underestimate. Well, I don't know if I need you to say, I won't underestimate. I'll have you do other stuff like that. This is what you're going to get to learn today. And what I ask of you, how many of you are here? How are we going to do the arms? This is for just yourself, and this is for your work. And if it's both, put both of your hands up. How many of you are here for yourselves? Left hand. Okay? How many of you are here just for work? Okay? And then how many of you are here for both? Okay, great. Great. So today, though, yes, you can keep in the back of your mind if you absolutely must. How can this impact my team? How can this impact my organization? But this is really for you, all right? So block out other things, and when we start diving deeper, please let yourself, this is time for you, which I imagine you might not take a lot out of. All right, everybody in? Yeah, okay. Okay, I think, Joni, what I'll do is I'll do popcorn, but then I'll repeat the words. I want to check in with you, right? So what we spoke about before were the external costs of stress, like what are the external stressors you're facing? These are the ways these external stressors are affecting you internally. So let's popcorn, please, as many of you, again, like when we speak up, what I've noticed, like there's a way for you to sit and do this session and be not just all the way back and not participating, right? Like physically back, but also you can be not participating. The more you actually engage, like it actually starts changing your physiology, your nervous system, just the act of participating. It's like you're telling your psyche, I'm in for transformation, all right? So that's the way I'm trying to manipulate you in participating. So let's come up with some names that you resonate with, that you struggle with. Anxious, okay. Exhausted. What's that? Out of balance, yeah. Not enough time, right? Time like crunches when we're stressed out. Distracted, yeah. Agitated, I love that word. It's like, I think of a washing machine, you know, it's like we're agitated, like everything. Our physiology is agitated, our emotions, our mindset. What else? Constantly pulled. Do I have tug of war in here? No, but it's a good one. Yeah, constantly pulled in different directions, right? Yeah. What else? Disappointment. Is that what you said? Tell me more about disappointment. Who said that?
Oh, I did.
Yes. She was right there.
You know, I look at all these words and all these feelings, and I think at the end of the day, that feeling of disappointment is hovering and heavy.
And can you say, and again, right, you guys can all choose how much you want to share, so I will always ask, and then you are always welcome to say, don't want to share. Is there an end to the sentence, I'm disappointed about?
I think it goes back to the people pleasing, and there are so many people I care for and am working hard for, and you can cast a far shallow net, or, you know, there's just limitations. And so, you know, when you sit down and have that moment of clarity and you're able to go through this list, there's this feeling of falling short and possibly disappointing others.
Ah, got it. So I thought, you see, this is why we always ask questions, and I imagine all of you know that. Did any of you also thought she was talking about her being disappointed? Yeah, I thought you were talking about you being disappointed. You're talking about disappointing others. Who else has that? Fear of disappointing others, or constantly feeling that you might disappoint others. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. It's yeah, that's the part of people pleasing that is so incredibly painful. Any of you have the imposter syndrome? Okay, you were going to pick that one. Got it. Yeah, hold on. Let Joni come to you.
As a woman executive, I think imposter syndrome is an underlying issue that many of us who have been very successful live with.
And how does that show up for you?
For me, it has been, I'm in a room full of people and I know I'm just as good as they are, but why me? Why did I get this role and 10 other people who interviewed for it didn't? And it's lack of self-confidence, but I also think it happens more with women than anyone else.
Yeah. How many men are there? Any of you men feel imposter syndrome so you can challenge her generalization? Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, right? Yeah, and so, Joni, one more question I've got. It's Debbie, right? Debbie, one more question. So when you are experiencing imposter syndrome, what feelings does it have you feel?
Fear.
Fear.
What if they find out I'm not as good or as accomplished or as whatever that they think I am?
And are you able to notice that you're thinking that and
sure.
not be kidnapped by it?
As I have progressed in my career, I have learned to place that in a box.
Good.
And, obviously when you're going through introspection, it comes out, but I've learned to place it in a box because I have learned that with self-affirmation, I'm just as good as everybody else. They're just as scared as I am.
Anybody else? Can you guys resonate with Debbie? Will you raise your hand so she may not have to feel alone? Imposter syndrome is a thing? Okay. I don't think she needs, we could do. If nobody answers, then she'll really feel like imposter syndrome. That's what we'll do. I'm here to trigger all of you all so that you'll really use my work. That's what we'll do. All right. So, pick, please, a word that you really want to feel more of, right? This is the work I'm going to teach you today, is going to get you to experience more of these words. And you are allowed to say more than one word. Let's really say some good, we call them green zone words. You'll see why in a minute. All right, come on, let's go. Balanced, focused, energized, resilient, inspired, intentional, connected. Don't they feel so good? What else? Anybody want to say joyful? Yes. What are we missing? Oh, for you, Debbie, we've got the confident one. That's just for you. Nobody else in this room. And you know what I love too? There's energized here, but vibrant. Total side note here, but this is, I like you guys and I think I feel comfortable. Right, I had an eating disorder, so you can imagine that my body image was something that I really struggled with. Like, I never thought I was thin enough, I never thought I was attractive enough. And one of my favorite words is attractive. Because if you say you're pretty, you're beautiful, right, it's physical. But somebody who's attractive or vibrant, it's their energy, right? And I mean, Joni, I'm not going to say anything. Where's Joni? You said to me, but we were talking about aging yesterday. And I was like, yeah, I'm at the point where it doesn't matter which mirror I go to, I cannot blame the mirror and the lighting anymore. It's just so vibrancy, right? Those are, like, we have a lot of life force. And when we are burnt out and stressed out, we are these lessened versions of ourselves. And we don't want to live like that. So everybody in for learning how to live with more of these states of being? We good? Okay, great. So, the stress reset, as I said, it's a simple method to quickly self-regulate back to your optimal self. So let's talk about what self-regulation is, because it's funny, it's more and more in the vocabulary of the world, self-regulation, resilience, but what does it actually mean? So it's the ability to recognize when you are triggered into the stress response and then to come back to your center. And when you do this, when you self-regulate, I self-regulate, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 25 times a day, right? Because you'll see the scale you're going to learn today. I'm very precise with it. Like, I want to be at a 10. I want to be fully in the green zone. So even when I notice, like even when I drive, I'm driving. I have never driven in Arizona because Joni's always given me rides everywhere. I have a rental car. Like, just even noticing when I'm driving in traffic and I'm starting to stress out a little bit, I'm like, I'm not going to stress out. Like, I do not want to live my life stressed out because we're going to talk about the consequences. So resilience, right? So every single day you self-regulate, and over time, it becomes your capacity to call yourself a resilient human being. And a resilient human being is one that very rarely gets stressed. And when they do get stressed, they have agility, right? They have neural agility to come back to center. And that's what's possible for all of you. Because, right, the goal is not to stress. You are going to stress out. The goal is to be able to recognize it fast and to shift out of it fast. And those of us who are heading towards burnout or in chronic stress, we get stuck in stress. And that's when stress is dangerous. You all good for that? Yeah. But like Joni was talking about. Joni, what's your relationship to, yeah, you were going to say something anyway? Perfect.
What I was going to say is that the Conscious Leadership Group, if any of you know of the Conscious Leadership Group, they wrote a book called the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leaders. I believe the statement or the quote in their book is that 95% of people live 98% of the time in the below the line or the stress response most of each day. 95% of people live 98% of their time below the line or in stress response. It's just that fast. So that's what I was going to share.
Yeah, so let's change that. Let's change that, right? So for a second, expand that to changing that to your teams or the people that you work with, but for right now, for yourselves. The work works with a very simple formula, which says awareness plus action equals self-regulation. Another word you can put in there equals transformation. So we first have to be aware of where we are at, and then we have to know what to do. As a therapist, right, what I help people with a lot for 20 years is self-awareness. Oh, my mother did this, my father did this, all that. So awareness was important, but then what do we do about it? So what I love about this work is that it uses both awareness and action. So we ready to start with awareness? I know we are, there's lots going on. Okay. This is called the Stress Reset Scale. You're all getting it right now as a handout. So if you'll notice, this scale has 3 colors, the colors of a traffic light, and it's got the red zone, the yellow zone, and the green zone. And we're going to go through the red zone and the green zone as in the next couple of minutes. And you'll also notice that it's got the numbers 1 to 10. So 1 is when you're the most stressed out, and you are in fight, flight, or freeze. Somebody was talking about fight, flight, or freeze. And 10 is you're open and spacious and grounded. You notice at the bottom of the triangle, you are grounded. Because for me, being at a 10, you can be joyful, inspired, creative, but if you're not grounded, it's not going to really be helpful to you. And so I want you to check in with yourselves right now, without knowing anything else about the work. Where are you at? Let's first do in this moment. Where are you at on the scale in this moment? 1 is all the way stressed out, 10 is all the way open, just popcorn. Right now. What's that? 8, 9, 7, 5. Do you want me to whisper it or can I say it? 5. Yeah, I love that. Who just did that? Yes, I love that. When people do the work a lot, they're like 7.262, like you can really have a lot of fun. So I love that you already did that. Anybody else? Anybody else? A number? Like, this is part of the work. Start checking in with yourself. And we're going to go deeper into the signals, but the more you check yourself in with the scale, the more then you'll be like, oh, I'm in the red zone. I don't want to be here. I want to go into the green zone. So let's talk about the red zone. Red zone, you are in fight, flight, or freeze response. And while it's a brilliant survival mechanism, it is a very painful place to live in. And this is what happens. I don't know if you all know this, that your brain, your limbic brain, was built for survival for about 75,000 years ago. And so back then, right, you were constantly, when you were a cave person, you were walking out of your cave, and you pretty much knew that there was a very high chance that you were going to get killed by something, whether it was an animal or another caveman or another cave woman. Maybe it was a cave woman, who knows? So the limbic brain still has not evolved to match modern times. It still gets triggered. And imagine that we have that kind of danger now when our husband or partner does not empty the dishwasher, or I'm not saying anything about Brian. Oh, by the way, I always forget this part. Brian and I are back together. I forgot that's the part 2 of the story. I always forget it. And he did his own work, right, on his side, and without a doubt, for me, it was because of this work. And so, we went all the way. We were at, I'll go back to that. We were at a 1 or 2, for a few years. And now it's so cool. Sammy, I was telling Sammy this the other day. It's like, I don't know if I've ever been happier with this man. And it's like, when we first fall in love, we kind of assume happiness is normal. But after 40 years and a divorce, to like love this man so much and feel so grateful to be with him, right? I'm watching some of you, right, it's touching. I mean, it's touching to me. You guys don't need to be touched, but I'm touched by it. Yeah, were you going to say something? Oh, no, I didn't. You were going to say something. Okay, so today, your brain still reacts as though your life is in danger. That's why it's so easy to get dysregulated. These are the two things. There's a lot of words here, but this is very simple for you to learn. There are two things that happen when we get triggered into the stress response. One is your amygdala, which is the part of your brain that is scanning for threat, turns up. The alarm turns up, right? And cortisol, adrenaline, right? Your body's like, oh my God, there's danger. Even if it's like a project coming on your desk, danger, 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 turns up and stays stuck open. And then your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that does the rational thinking, decision making, presence, all the thing, creativity, it goes down. You know why? It's really cool. Like I learned this not long ago. Literally the blood gets taken out of your prefrontal cortex because your body wants all your blood to go to your extremities so you can fight. Well, no, this is not fight, this is the flight. You can fight, flight, or freeze. So your body says, act now, think later. That's the red zone. It's really smart. If you are hiking in Colorado and there's a mountain lion possibility, or you're in the streets of a city at 2 o'clock in the morning, act now, think later is a really good one. I imagine that every single one of you have experienced the negative effects of acting now, thinking later in your life. But understand, this is what happens. When you get triggered into the stress response, your amygdala turns up and stays on, right? So you get stuck in fear, reactivity, or hypervigilance. And your frontal cortex, the part of you that goes, no, wait a minute, I don't need to eat that extra pint of ice cream, or have that extra glass of wine, or say the unkind thing to my partner, or whatever it is, gets turned off. So it would make sense that it's impossible to be your best self in the red zone. And when I know a crowd, what I actually say, I don't have it on that slide because it sounds really mean, but you can only be your worst self in the red zone. And we're going to talk about the why. So let's look first at the top. So you can't think clearly, you can't see clearly, and you can't act clearly. And I'm going to have you guys repeat those words once I teach you a little more, okay? So you can't think clearly. I just explained that, right? The frontal cortex gets kidnapped. You cannot access in the full stress response your capacity to think straight. Got it? So I love this part, right? Like you become defensive. Your brain floods with energy for defending, escaping, or proving your point. Anybody know that place? Have you been in that place, right? Not for understanding. You guys are all in HR. I imagine you've had a lot of red zone people come into your office, or you've experienced it yourself, and people get defensive, all that stuff. And so it becomes all about protecting yourself from perceived threat when it's just somebody that's complaining about something. So say, I can't think clearly. I can't think clearly. Can you all say it? I can't think clearly. So remember that, and you're going to understand why I want you to remember that. You can't see clearly. So this is probably the one that touches me the most. When we get triggered into the stress response, into the red zone, we have a thing called our negativity bias. Any of you have heard of the negativity bias, right? You, again, think about being a cave person. You walk out of your cave and your friend, the other cave person, I try to be gender neutral, so I call it cave person. The other cave person got killed last time they went out of the cave, yesterday. Well, how are you going to walk out the cave? You're not going to be like, I remember the lovely picnic I had a couple weeks ago. You're not going to remember the picnic. You're going to be like, are they shadows? Are they sounds? Right? You're going to be hyper vigilant, and you're going to be on the lookout for what's wrong, not what's right. So we cannot see ourselves, others, or the world clearly. It is distorted by the negativity bias. Anybody have an experience? Oh, here's a work example. Great. Perfect.
This is so timely because I was just geeking out on brain science with one of my colleagues who's a VP of product, and she's getting ready to look at a certain set of products with the team who's been working really closely on this. And all of them are in stress response. All of them are very defensive. There's this huge negativity bias. And we were literally just chatting about this yesterday, and I'm like, you are fighting their biology right now.
Yes.
And she read an article, she's doing research on this herself, and so it can look like when you're trying to drive change within your organization for the better, right? Really great intentions, but others could be in this negativity bias, and there's a lot of barriers to overcome that because their biology is fighting progress so that's my example that was just real time this week.
I really love that, right? Resistance. Like if I'm in the red zone, I don't want to hear from anybody else. Like the point of who I am in the red zone is you are my enemy, and I have to fight myself to the death to be right. Anybody ever have that experience? Right? There's no way, you can't do win-win in the red zone. Yeah, Tammy.
It's okay. When I'm in the red zone, if someone tells me to breathe,
Or relax. If somebody tells us to relax. Well, I mean, and then when we think about it, and I hope that you walk away continually to think about it, if you are in actual danger, and somebody tells you to relax or calm down, it's actually the worst advice you can give somebody. So I don't think it's just that we are rebels or we hate being told what to do, though I hate being told what to do. But I think it's also a biological thing. Like my brain thinks I'm in danger, and you're telling me to calm down or to breathe. It's like, no, I'm supposed to act now. I will breathe later. So think about it now this way. It's like if your husband or your partner tells you to breathe and you get really pissed, you go, it's not my fault, it's my biology. I'm actually right. One of the things I do, I don't tell many people this part, but when Brian and I used to be more in the red zone, I used to think of himself as a wonderful warrior. Like think about it. Who we are in the red zone is actually who we would be if there was actual danger. So instead of being pissy when Brian goes into the red zone, I'm like, oh, he would be such a good warrior if he was in actual danger. So it's a good reframe from somebody's being a total, you know what. You can just be like, they would be an amazing warrior if there was actual danger. You can. I mean, think about it. Like, okay, but give her the mic, please, because I want to play with you for a moment. So think about it. What are some of the qualities she gets in the red zone? Let's come up with a few.
She's highly defensive.
Highly defensive.
Negative, and you come up with a solution, you're Satan, literally. She wants to be in the negative. It's where she wants to stay, and it'll get flipped. I just wanted to vent, or I just wanted to, and I'm a mom, and I'm a very major optimist, right? So it's hard for me to hear the negative too, because I want to solution seek and find the bright side. But she wants to stay in that red zone so bad, and it's very constant. It's a frequent space for her. So finding a way to get her out of that without telling her to calm down and relax would be wonderful.
Well, all you need to do is go, you're in the red zone, get out. No, I'm being sarcastic.
I don't think so.
No, but so now, let's joke about it. Just think about it now. If she actually had to be with somebody who was dangerous, wouldn't she be great?
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah, and she's very aware of that, like hyper vigilant, right? She'll call when somebody's following her in the parking lot because she notices. I mean, she's hyper alert when there is something dangerous, or she's very empathetic and very alert to all of those things. So I do tell her that there's a lot of great qualities, but oh my gosh.
I love that so much. So you guys notice there are places where her red zoneness helps her. And then there are places when it doesn't. And so this is why the awareness piece is so important, because is it necessary for me to be so activated? Is the question.
Right.
There's some studies that say that once we experience trauma or danger, the amygdala only takes, the amygdala is always scanning the horizon, right? And when we're in the red zone, it's very actively, like it's on scanning for potential danger and imagining danger everywhere. And they say that the amygdala only takes in 5% of the information before deciding if it's the same event that happened to us before. So again, think about it. Again, I lived in Colorado for 17 years. You had to be careful about mountain lions. And if there was a golden retriever coming down the hill, having 5% like, yeah, I'm not gonna stay on this hike, even if I'm wrong. So I'm glad that my amygdala is so hypervigilant. The problem is, it's that hypervigilant for when our partner or a colleague treats us the way maybe a mommy or daddy treated us, or the way a former boss treated us, or the way our husband or partner treat us in the morning. That 5%, then takes us into full fight, flight, or freeze and can be really dangerous. So tell her, you know what? Every time, just say, honey, I'm just so proud of you, of your capacity to just really stay safe. Try it. Yeah. And you're going to learn a tool. And so then, almost every single person, when they use this work, they'll come to me afterwards and they'll say, how can I bring this to my family? Right? Like did I already say this? I don't think I did. At the event I did last week, I think did I say this? That about 3 women came to me, can you do a husband seminar? Because which is funny, right? Because I used to be like that a lot, where I would go to self-development things and be like, oh, Brian needs this, right? We always say, my children need this. So in this room today, we're looking at ourselves. So, final one, you can't act clearly. So any of you decide in the morning that you're not going to do a certain habit, and then by the end of the day, you've acted it out and you're really mad at yourself? Just one person. You are very courageous. Oh, thank you. So when we are in the red zone, we lose all our capacity to make conscious choices. My company's name is actually called Choice Point, because I realized about 15 years ago that there were no products out there for what is called the choice point, which is, they say that between an impulse, I want to have that ice cream, I want to, have the thought of yelling or whatever it is, or maybe media, doom scrolling, there's only a quarter second between an impulse and an action. And if you think about it, whatever habits you've healed over the years, you might still have the impulse come up, but you now have time to go, you know what, if I have that whole pint of ice cream, I'm going to feel like crap tomorrow morning, whatever it is. And so you can't act clearly. That I think that when you're in the red zone, that quarter second is even shorter. You cannot make conscious choice. All right, so 3 things, you're going to say them. So in the red zone, I can't think clearly. Ready? In the red zone, I can't think clearly. Everybody repeat.
In the red zone.
Okay, I can't see clearly.
I can't see clearly.
And I can't act clearly.
I can't act clearly.
All right, what we want to do with the awareness part is we want to learn signals. We want to become ninjas at recognizing what signals let us know that we are heading towards the red zone or there. Ideally, we don't want to wait till we're there, because once we're there, it's very hard to bring our frontal cortex and be like, oh, hold on, I'm in the red zone, let me shift. So the earlier you catch the signal. So you all have in front of you, turn the page now. And I'm going to first talk about them, and then you're going to, if you want to, even as I talk about it, you're going to circle. So I'm going to show you 4. So there's body, mindset, emotions, and relationships. Ready? So we're going to do 4. So you are in the red zone, right? Your body is primed to fight, flight, or freeze. So these are all the things that happen physiologically in the red zone. So circle the ones that now that we're talking about it, are the ones that you recognize the most, or that you can see that you recognize the most. Like you might notice that, oh yeah, I get really tense, my shoulders, what was it, ramp up? I don't know if that's the word. For me, my jaw is a big one. Let me tell you about the loud voice, no voice. So, if it's with Brian and I'm in the red zone, guess which voice I'm going to have? So I get we. I'm going to take it away from just me. We can get very loud, right? Because we are trying to win. So we're going to try to be louder than the person next to us. So we get loud, aggressive, pushy voice. That's one style if we're more the fight response type of person. What's the no voice is who I am when I'm in my people-pleasing mode, and I might be in with somebody of authority, and I'm going to shut my voice down. So please circle which one, and you might have both, right? The way I just described it, I actually have both. If I feel really safe, I will have the loud voice. And if I'm trying to impress somebody, I'm going to have the no voice. All right, so circle that. Then take a look at mindset. And again, from this moment on, I hope you will always remember when I'm in the red zone, this is my fear, so some of you may love camping. What I imagine is being 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm in a tent by myself in the woods, and I start hearing rustling noises, right? So of course I'm going to have racing thoughts. Oh my God, what am I going to do? We've all seen scary movies, right? Racing thoughts, constant worrying, feeling out of control. We can't focus, poor judgment. We're scattered, disorganized, we are cynical, we have a negative outlook, and then past future thinking. This is fascinating. This is one of your greatest signals that you're in the red zone. When you are in the red zone, your mind is trying to remember when the danger, a similar danger, occurred before. And it's trying to predict, to prevent you from having the same danger occur in the future. That's when all past future thinking occurs. You know how any of us who do self-development, we talk about presence. Presence cannot occur in the red zone because we're not supposed to be present. We're supposed to be analyzing the past and predicting the future. So if you're worrying, if you're ruminating, if you're fretting, if you're regretting the past or obsessing about the future, that is one of your great signs you are in the red zone. Isn't that so cool to think about it like that? And so for me, if I'm unable to be present, instead of giving myself a hard time, it's like, oh, I'm in the red zone. And then I do have the work of getting out of the red zone, which you're going to learn today. And then guess what? I can access presence. Isn't that so cool? Okay, take a look at these. Pick out your faves. You know, what I do too, if you want, and we'll take a moment after this. First, let's do your favorites, or meaning the ones you most likely, because again, each of us can be more fight, flight, or freeze. So for some of you, it could be, I become short-tempered, reactive, right? For some of you, it could be, I become more sad, depressed. You go more that way with your nervous system. It's more the flight or the freeze response. And then, aren't the relationship patterns so pretty? This is, we've all experienced others, right? Being with us like this, and I imagine we've all experienced like this. I was raised with shame. Shame was the lever that my caregiver used in order to have me become a better human being. Anybody else was raised with shame? And so I have this really big passion of how do we teach people to transform without using shame. Not saying breathe, right? Calm down. For women, are you PMSing? Sorry, man, that might be too much information. But like if my husband ever said that, it was not okay. And so one of the things that I hope you walk away with today is the red zone is not your fault. Who you become in the red zone is not your fault. It is the fault of our biology, of evolutionary biology that is way outdated. And, right, the next part of the line, it is your responsibility that once you realize you're in the red zone to get the heck out of there, okay? And so what I find is that if I'm in the red zone and now I feel shame because I'm in the red zone or because I acted from the red zone, guess what it does? Keeps me in the red zone. But actually realizing I'm in the red zone, taking responsibility, that's a very different experience. So who would like, and Sammy and Joni, so it's going to require you. I would love to hear, I'm going to ask you something different actually than what you just did. What is a signal, I'm going to go back and forth, that you're surprised is a red zone signal, or that you never really realized was due to the fact that you got activated into the stress response, that you just thought it was a personal failing or something that you were carrying? Anybody have that? Can you raise your hand? So any of those that you did not know it was due to the stress response? Past future thinking, yeah.
I'm trying to sleep at night and I'm rethinking in a timeline, chronological order, the things that have happened in my life and the things that are, like I thought that was just me and normal. I didn't realize that was a response to being in the red zone.
It's so cool,
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, it's
it is your
fascinating.
responsibility, right, to get
Right.
into the green zone so you can go to sleep.
Sure.
But yeah, do you want to say something about that too?
I love Melissa. We're soul sisters. How vulnerable do I want to get? So yeah, the past future thinking for me, I always thought it was, oh, this is triggering me, but a little bit of the inability to not feel happy in the moment and always worrying about when is the other shoe going to drop. That was a big one that I had to overcome. That was tied to childhood traumas. So even when you're happy, like you can be thrown into the red zone based on this past future thinking.
It is, that's your amygdala, right? Like it's the sentinel, always watching. Anybody else have that place of always waiting for the shoe to drop even when you're happy? Isn't it? And the thing about it, yes, those of us with trauma are more likely to be always there. I mean, it's way exacerbates it, but it is a human condition, right? The brain is actually wired, until we teach it differently, to be on the lookout for danger, to be on the lookout for threats. So actually what I've discovered after 20 years of working with people, I used to think that what people really didn't want was to live in the red zone. Actually, people really struggle living in the green zone. Because let me go back for a moment, since I'm so grateful we have time. Here, let me tell you first, think about this as the human body, right? When you're in the red zone, you're in your head, and it's all constricted, right? Speedy, agitated, is what somebody said. When you're in the green zone, I said this before, you're open, you're grounded. Tell me what else you are. Think about embodiment. How deeply are you in your body in the green zone? Right? You're all the way in, right? You're all the way in. Now, if you've experienced any trauma, how excited are you to be in your body? Not. Because in your body lives all the traumas that you pushed away. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to deal with this emotion. I'm not going to deal with this emotion. And so actually the work of being a green zone human being is actually work. You're fighting your evolutionary biology. If you've experienced trauma, you're fighting trauma. I also think you're fighting culture, don't you think? Yeah, who wants to say something about that? Like, don't you think that we support red zone human beings more? How are you? I'm so stressed, I'm so busy. And there's a badge of honor for being a red zone human being. Like, I used to be pissed when people were like, I'm so happy. I'm like, don't you dare be happy. So I want you to know that hopefully if you take this work and you practice it, it is a practice to become a green zone human being, because you have to be willing to go inside and stuff will come up. When you slow down enough to start coming into your body, stuff that you may have repressed or not dealt with or whatever it is will come up. Yeah. Okay, so it's not your fault. It's your responsibility. If you write anything down, write that down, please. I don't think it's on that handout. And who wants to share some of your favorite red zone signals that you highlighted? Since nobody's sharing some, well, we did some surprising one. What are, just popcorn style, what are some of your red zone signals? Look on your handout. Racing thoughts. Rapid heartbeat. Yeah, you notice it? Yes. Okay, great. Good awareness. That means you're in your body enough to notice. Shallow breath. Yeah. Yeah. Who else? I want to go to this table over there. I haven't heard from this. Yeah, I think I've heard from you.
It's not on here, but for me, it's always gastrointestinal. It's like stomach, indigestion.
Can you give her the mic? I'd love, because I want to tell her. Do you, now that you maybe have said enough to give you an idea about why do you think it's your gastrointestinal issues related to the red zone, to stress response?
It's just a connection I've made over the last couple of years, paying attention to my body and having some food allergies that surfaced over the last few years, and really being intentional about what I eat and what impacts it. And I've noticed that correlation between stress level and how I feel in my upper GI. So I call it's breathing fire. It's that really intense heartburn that makes you feel like things are bubbling. And so that's my go-to.
So anybody know, with what I've talked about, what happens in the stress response, what does your body have to do? Do you guys remember what I said about fight, flight, or freeze? What did I say about what gets kidnapped? Like, where does our energy go? It goes to fighting, flighting, or freezing. What do you think happens to our digestive system? Do you think it's important for the digestive system to be turned on if you're chasing a lion? Oh, well, that would be really funny to chase a lion if you're being chased by a lion. I like that idea. We're warriors. So your digestive system shuts down. And so no wonder we have digestive issues. And so again, coming back into the green zone, all our energy then can start going to the things like heartbeat, can slow down, right? The heart racing is your heart trying to bring energy to your extremities. And so the single biggest change you can make, when I was burned out, I went to this alternative doctor and I spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on medication. I don't even know if it helped. I think what helped my burnout was learning to become a green zone human being. I think in the end, whatever habits you want to change, however you want to change, the first step is actually getting yourself to the green zone. And then solutions show up, your body starts healing itself. The body cannot heal itself in the red zone, right? We all know this. They say 90% of doctors' visits are due to stress. 90%, they're saying that. So let's go to the action part. Oh no, well, you know what? I always skip this part, it's interesting. Green zone is your nervous system feels safe. So your brain, right? So two things, amygdala turns up, neurofrontal cortex goes down. In the green zone, the opposite happened. The amygdala goes down and your frontal cortex, so you can be present, you can think straight, all the things, right? So you can be the best version of yourself in the green zone. Really, ladies and gentlemen, if you saw me in the red zone when I thank God don't get there. I don't know if I get there at all. See, she would probably tell me, but I don't know if I am. But like, I am a completely different human being in the red zone. Anybody else like that? Like when you think about who you are at a 10 or a red zone? Yeah. It's incredible. So now, let's just say that I don't need to go deeply into the science because I want to go the 3 steps. So I can see clearly in the green zone. So in the green zone, I can see clearly. Come on. I can see clearly. I can think and feel clearly. And I can act clearly. So take a look at your chart and look at signals that let you know that you are in the green zone. And maybe you're like, wow, I haven't experienced that in a while. Or maybe like, yeah, I've been feeling that all day. So do you notice, right, it's the opposite of the red zone. Your body thinks you're safe. It does not need to kidnap your energy to go fight, flight, or freeze. So now it can relax. You can breathe abdominally. Look at the mindset ones. And so just circle the ones, either that you want to feel the most or are the most. And then look at emotions and relationship patterns. And look at the difference in the relational patterns, right? When we are in relationship in the red zone, it's win-lose. When we're in relationship in the green zone, it's win-win. And that's for individuals, for couples, for teams, and organizations. All right, let's popcorn some of the green zone, some green zone signals. What are some? Come up with whichever you want. What are you more of in the green zone? Steady. Empowered, steady, clear. What's that? Optimistic, yeah. Yeah, because, right, you can see, like, if you want one way to know that you're in the red zone is this teacher calls it the great fault finder, right? If you find yourself finding fault, that is one of your signals. If you find yourself finding what's right, you know you're in the green zone. And so if you're in a team meeting and you're noticing, I forget who was you, were you talking about yeah, right. So that team is in the great fault finding place, right? They're finding fault with whatever proposals, with what the boss is saying, with the organization, all of it. And so imagine if you could shift them to finding what's right. And the thing that happens in the green zone, creativity comes back online, and every single time solutions that could have never been found are found in the green zone because we are wired for the win-win in the green zone. So you don't ever want to start a meeting until the group is in the green zone, right? You want to make sure that that's where you and whoever you're working with is working from, and you're present, right? We were talking about that. So let's talk about the 3 steps. And again, remember traffic light. Did you notice already how many people are already using the language, red zone, green zone, yellow zone? That's how quickly it gets adopted. So now let's go to the action part of the work. So remembering the scale. Step number 1, what do we do at a traffic light? When it's red, we stop. So remember, you can't see clearly, you can't think clearly, you can't act clearly. So stopping is the single most important thing you can do. But it's way cooler than this. One is, when you say stop, guess what's coming back online? Like, who's saying stop? Your frontal cortex is coming back online and going, wait, stop. So that's one thing. You're already turning your frontal cortex to come back online, and then your amygdala automatically starts turning down. And then this is really cool. So neural pathways, when we do a habit consistently, I think of neural pathways like luging. You guys know Olympic luging, right? And they fly down this. And so neural pathways are like that. And not only is it like a luging path, but when we do a habit repeatedly developed, it's called myelin sheathing. It's a tunnel. So imagine being a luger that's flying down a luging pathway, whatever they're called, and it has a tunnel. And now you have to, I'm asking you to stop that neural pathway. So you have a habit, I'm about to yell at somebody because every time this person says something, I yell, or I'm tired, I'm going to eat. And when you stop, you're actually stopping the luge from continuing down that neural pathway. And the more you stop, just stopping prevents the continuation of the neural pathway from going deeper. So every single time, even if you just do that one step, your brain is getting rewired to become less and less engaged in that tunnel. So it's like imagine if that tunnel was built out of ice, and every time you stop halfway, the part that you're not engaging in slowly starts dissipating. So you literally start dissipating these neural pathways that are so habitual, over which you have no choice, all right? And what you're going to do, the next 2 steps, is like you're stopping down that neural pathway, I'm not going to be reactive, and then you're creating a new neural pathway with the next 2 steps. So cool. So number 2, slow down and breathe. Again, remember, I keep telling you, do not underestimate. Deep abdominal breaths are the single fastest way for your body to know that you are safe, right? Because guess what? Remember, you were talking about the shallow breath. You can't breathe abdominally and deeply if you are in the stress response. You're supposed to be going like this so that you fight, flight, or freeze. So when you consciously become the boss of your breath, instead of your breath being the boss of you, so let's just do that. Close your eyes. Let's take a few deep abdominal breaths. And feel it if you want. You can put your hand on your belly. You don't have to. And as you do that, and we're going to go a little deeper, you would not do this in the middle of a meeting necessarily, but let yourself notice if there's tension in the rest of your body as you start deepening your breath that you can let go of. Check out your shoulders. Check out your jaw, even your belly. And one of the things I love to do in this step, and so check it out, is I love to say, I am safe. So I use deep abdominal breathing, and I use the words, I am safe. Because remember, my body thinks I'm in danger. My brain thinks I'm in danger. And because it thinks I'm in danger, it does all the incredible fight, flight, or freeze things that we've been talking about. So reminding your body that you're safe, which is true for most of us most of the time, of course not true for everybody, can be really helpful. All right, open your eyes. And just notice if you feel different just from the breathing. And then step number 3. So again, green light, go. Go to a green zone habit. Let's look at the science of that. So engage in a positive action for at least 60 seconds. Let me tell you about that. So we've talked about the negativity bias. So we literally have a part of our brain called the implicit memory that is wired, it's like it holds on to negative experiences, right? Don't you guys have more memories of the dangerous things that happen to you sometimes than the positive memories, right? Your brain is wired to remember negative ones. When you do a green zone habit, we'll talk about what they are: calling a friend, it could be taking a quick walk, doing some jumping jacks in the bathroom, and you anchor it for 30 to 60 seconds, the time allows it to start sinking into the implicit memory bank. And over time, you develop a positivity bank instead of a negativity bank. So for example, as a people pleaser, one of my biggest triggers has been if I reach out to somebody and they don't reply back. Or they stop being friends with me. Anybody have that when people just stop being friends and they ghost you and you don't understand why, right? And so before, right, if somebody didn't respond to me, I would go full on red zone. So much anxiety. And the first thing, tell me if anybody else did, what did I do wrong? Anybody else have that when somebody what did I do wrong? And then I would go and then I would try to remember everything of our last few conversations and what did I do wrong and just feel so red zone and insecure. And now, because of the work I've done, when a friend, I know it's going to sound maybe simple for those of you who don't struggle with this, so come up with your own example that you can relate to. Now, I go, oh, wait a minute, they're probably busy. I'm a rational human being because my frontal cortex is back and because now there's enough experiences that I've stored in my memory bank that I don't automatically go to worst case scenario. And my frontal cortex is strong enough to be able, same thing with food. Right before, with my eating disorder, if I had something that triggered me, I had no choice. I just had to start overeating, right? Binging was one of my eating disorder things. Now it doesn't even come up. It's just incredible. I talk to my daughter all the time about this. Like when I get triggered, the amygdala doesn't even go towards the eating habit. And so you can literally rewire your brain. So you ready? So we're going to go down. We're going to go back to stop, and you have that on your sheet. Slow down and breathe, and go. So I'm so glad we have time. We're going to talk about red zone habits. So red zone habits, they're habits that we do, right, when we're in the red zone that temporarily feel good. Right? Any of you have red zone habits, right? And I've been talking about eating or drinking. What are some other red zone habits that you do that temporarily bring you to green? I don't ever want to underestimate that. They temporarily bring you to green, but then they bring you back to red. Anybody want to share some? Yeah.
I'm a big storyteller. I just make up all details of what's happening, and it's just all made up fantasy.
So future storytelling. And is it based on past storytelling?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so great. So that's one of the things that you catch yourself, and that's a red zone habit. Okay, who else? Doom scrolling, yeah. And so, Sammy, will you bring the mic? Because these are important. Tell me what, if you now were to think of it, it does temporarily bring you into the green zone. How does it bring you into the green zone? How does it help at first?
It distracts me.
Distraction.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then how fast, if you now use the scale, do you realize that you're back into the red zone? Like how long does it work for?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, just guesstimate. Couple minutes, 10, 20, 2 hours?
Yeah, probably like less than an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, and then how do you feel afterwards?
The same.
It didn't really help.
Work. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Other red zone habits? And then he's like, no. Anybody else? Yeah.
I like to just do a quick brain dump of whatever awful thing just happened. Usually my husband is the lucky recipient of said brain dump, but it just helps me to verbalize it, dump it all out, and then I can move on.
Well, that doesn't sound like a red zone habit. I don't know. So is anybody negatively impacted by your brain dump?
I guess me in the moment, because that's where my temperatures come up if it's something that's happened. I mean, one of the body zone things that we talked about that wasn't on there was my face gets flush. I can feel my whole face is burning hot when I am irritated or angry about something that's going on and I want to react. I know I know it's red on my face. People can tell when I get upset.
Interesting, yeah.
And so, in order to relieve that, I may have to, and maybe it's the gossip piece, I may have to just dump on whatever that is quickly, and with every negative term I can think of and name perhaps, in order to be able to move on.
Really great point. So when I first built my certification program, it's a 6-month program, I remember one night thinking, well, who the heck am I to assume that everybody wants to get out of the red zone? It's such an assumption, right? Like, oh, it feels so bad. Yes, of course, we all want to get out of the red zone, but it's my party and I'll cry if I want to. Sometimes we want to we want to stay stuck, and so then I'll get to you. So I created this red zone protocol for my facilitators to teach. So the red zone protocol, what is your name? Jill. So I would say to Jill, okay, Jill, you're in the red zone, and now I'm hearing, and you don't want to get out of it quite yet, right? So I'm going to give you 5 minutes, all right? And you can go full on red zone. That's what she's doing. She's going full on, and then after 5 minutes, check with her, 3 minutes, whatever we decide. And she might be like, oh yeah, I'm totally green now. Like, I know that as a woman, when I'm in a fight with Brian, calling a friend and like dumping at first, it's not, and he never understands. He's like, why are you sharing our private things? I'm like, no, because I feel better afterwards, because then I can see like, oh, wait a minute, he was just trying to do this or this. So it can be a green zone habit if you do it consciously. Most people don't have Jill's skill, and they start talking negatively about a person, and guess what happens? They get stuck in it. Right? And then it actually become more red zone, and then it perpetuates the story of them being a victim of whatever it is. So if you do it that consciously, sometimes you're okay to get in the red zone if you know yourself that that's going to get you to the green zone, and that's what it sounds like. Yes?
I tend to procrastinate and isolate, just watch mindless TV, and then when I come out of my funk, all of the things that I procrastinated are there, which drives me back into the red zone. So,
yeah, it's, one of the things, we're going to go to green zone habits in a moment to look at different green zone habits. The same habit can be red zone or green zone. So being a high achiever, having an eating disorder, I was one of those women that would do yoga in the red zone. So it was about getting to yoga class, always at the last minute, right? So totally stressed out, getting to yoga class so that I could relax. And then I would, of course, go to hot yoga, which is at 105 degrees, right? You all know that, and just so harsh with myself, and it was about burning calories, and it was about competition, and pissed offness if somebody took my spot at my regular studio, And so there's a way for me to do yoga now that's from the green zone. That's a very different experience. So there's such a fine line with I need an hour just to not think. And we're not all gurus, and I include myself in this, I'm just going to sit in meditation and not think for an hour, and then I'll come out all fresh. No, sometimes, I watch Scandal, and I just got Joni to start watching Scandal. It's a complete, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. That was way too vulnerable. Any of you know Scandal? It's from so it's really fun. And so there's something we can use it as a green zone thing where we just need our brains to stop thinking. What I've been tracking in myself is at which point does it become a red zone thing, right? If I watched, I don't really want to say the truth out loud right now, so I'm hesitating with myself. So being at her house, I'm at her house for 10 days. She's letting me stay at her house for 10 days. So one of the things I want to do is not be all the time in the living room. So I've gone to my room and I've been watching 4 episodes of Scandal, and I usually never do that. And so, at a certain point I track when does it start dampening my mood? When do I not want to get up at all? Now it's I just want to watch 2 more episodes, and then the moment I go outside and walk, I'm oh, I'm back. So check it out. At which point do you think, let me ask you, do you think there could be a hybrid that you could do of taking some time to use TV to relax, but not too much?
It's just practice.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's take a look I'm going to show you 3 slides, and this is how we're going. Yeah, we have till 10:30, which is great. Because Q&A is included in that, is what Kathy said. So I'm going to show you 3 slides, and you guys can tell me which you prefer. So we have green zone that we can slow down on. We have green zone habits for work. These are all science-backed. Yes, they are obvious, but I promise you they work. Then we have green zone team habits, and then we have green zone habits for home. So tell me which one we want to slow down in first. So we have home, team, or work. And let's talk about some green zone habits. For me, right, the step outside, so it really depends what your work environment is like. Because I'm an entrepreneur, I walk every single day for an hour along this Montana River. I need it. And the thing about green zone habits is there are 2 types of green zone habits. There are green zone habits that you use in the moment when you need it, right? So like even just stretching and taking a moment, or like I said, going to the bathroom, doing a few jumping jacks or taking a few deep breaths. And then there are what I call foundational green zone habits. Those are the ones you do to build your resilience. So I meditate and I journal from like 6 to 8 a.m. every single day, and I walk. God doesn't leave much time for work, does it, when I tell you my schedule? But that's why that might be why I'm a green zone human being. And so if you'll notice, right, some of them, so I don't know if you're allowed to use music, but music is actually a really, really powerful way to shift into the green zone. So let's talk about these first. What are some of these? So let's say that you've never even thought about, or that you already do, that you now understand will be the 3rd step. I'm in the red zone, stop, slow down, breathe, go to a green zone habit. What might be some of your favorites? Let's popcorn. Outside, okay. Connecting with a colleague. Okay, Mike, please, for her, I want to know more. Tell me more about what does that do to connect with a colleague? Like, think about green zone, right?
I think when I get in the red zone at work, it's because I feel misunderstood. So when I connect with a colleague, I seek connection to be seen.
Oh, I love that. And so I would imagine if you're misunderstood and you're going to a colleague, those are 2 different people.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Like, if you're feeling misunderstood, that's usually with one person. Correct. And then you go to another person to be understood.
And I spend a lot of time on the phone and with prospects, and there can just be misalignment in a lot of different places, whether it's internally or externally, and sometimes you just need to soundboard or feel seen or feel understood. Exactly. So that's what I'm always seeking.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from men in this group for a moment. What studies have done about stress, they've only really started researching how women do in this, what they need in the stress response. And what they say is men, right, if we get really simple, men need their cave, women need connection. That's the generalization, right? I know Brian, when he's in the red zone, he needs to go off and take time. I need to connect. I have literally pursued him to the bathroom in an effort to connect when I'm in the red zone, because of course, when he goes away because he needs space, it triggers my abandonment issue. So I'm like running after him I need to repair, because I grew up in a household. Yeah, go ahead, Debbie.
So if I need to go away when I'm in the red zone, I'm a man? Because, generalization, because I tend to withdraw and I will listen to music. And I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anyone, nothing personal.
And then are you good? Do you all by yourself come back then, and you are now regulated?
Eventually.
Yeah.
So sometimes quicker than others. But I also choose, I choose weird music for me that makes me de-stress.
Yep.
So.
Yep. How many men do we have?
Margaritaville.
What do you, hold on, will you pass
Radio
the mic
Margaritaville.
Over there? Are you more of needing space, or are you more of needing connection when you're in the red zone?
I'm a weird combination of both. Sometimes I feel like I need to get away. I usually walk or do something to get my mind off of it, or listen to music. But I was also a single dad of 3 boys for a long time by myself. So a lot of times I'm energized by people. I'm more of an extrovert kind of person, so I do get a lot of my energy from others. So a lot of times
You
flip
do
back
both.
and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Is that anybody else, like when you're in the red zone, really need connection? How many of you is connection, like, and you want to repair and you want to be able to talk about it? Yeah. I think it's got to do with our evolutionary biology again. As women, we were connected in caves, at least from what I understand, and men could go off and hunt. I think I think that's what John Gray talks about. What other? And please come up with some green zone habits at work that maybe are not listed in here. One of the things that I want to show you is you want to, when you come up with your list of green zone habits, you want a variety, right? I was talking about you want some immediate and foundational ones. You want to vary them. Well, I guess I'm repeating myself there. You want to make them easily accessible, and you want to have some that I call them internally based. So one of my favorite ones, okay, ready? We're going to close our eyes. We're going to do one of that, so I'm not going to tell you what it is until I actually take you through it. So ready? Close your eyes. And let's begin first by having you check on the scale. 1 is you're all the way red, 10 you're all the way green. And just get the number about where you're at in this moment. And come up with 1 or 2 signals from what you've learned today that let you know, that back up your number. You know, maybe your breath is expansive, or maybe your shoulders are loose, or maybe you're feeling your jaw really tight. And what I invite you to do right now is I invite you to come up and let the memory come up from your depth of your consciousness, really the most wonderful green zone memory that has occurred to you, I don't know, the last week, the last month, the last year, you pick. And it is just an exquisite green zone memory. And imagine that it's like a 5D movie as you recall that memory. You can see it. Who are you with? Where are you? What's the temp, right? So now go into feeling. What's the temperature of where you are? Is there sunshine, wind? Are you outside, inside? What are the sounds? Do you hear other people's voices? Do you hear nature? You hear office space noises? And play the movie and really allow yourself, right, we're anchoring that memory. Feel it fully. How's your heart as you feel this memory? What qualities are you noticing about yourself? Is it joy? Is it love? Is it connection? Is it peace? And know that as we're practicing this right now, there's a part of your brain called your implicit memory. You can think of it like a bank that is downloading this experience and adding it to your implicit memory bank. So it's doing dual role right now, right? You're feeling likely higher on the scale, and you're also rewiring your brain to be able to experience more of those types of moments. All right, so check in with yourself on the scale now. Maybe you shifted, maybe you didn't. Maybe it's by 0.5 point, maybe it's by 1 point or 5 points. And then let's go ahead and open our eyes. All right, so how many of you shifted upward, went higher because of this memory? Come see, come sound. How many of you did? If you go down? No? So the rest of you stayed the same? All right, who wants to tell me about a memory? Who wants to share a memory? What came up for you? And maybe you're surprised by it. Who'd like to share over there?
I wasn't surprised by it, but
hold on a second.
Thank you, dear. So my 2 adult daughters live together in LA, which is one of the greatest joys of my life that I built. You know this as having girls, people that like to hang out. They were here a weekend ago for a family friend's wedding. So when the 4 of us are together, it reminds me that I right now I feel like I'm in a 6, and it's more work related than it is personal. So I think by honing in on that memory, it always brings me back to, this is my favorite place on the planet to be with my husband and my adult daughters, celebrating somebody else's joy, right? The wedding of their daughter. So it brings me back to kind of checking myself a little bit. So I don't think it brought me to a 10, but it definitely brought me up. I feel like having that memory, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And this is not, sometimes we go, like, you know, when people work within a couple months of doing this work, people will usually shift about 3 to 4 points. I call it the homeostatic level on the scale. It's really incredible. The point, even a half a point, right? If you are, hold on, I'll go to, if you are like a 4, right? Do you see that it's going to take nothing? If you wake up at a 4, it's going to take nothing, or even a 5, to trigger you into the red zone. Life will trigger us. So even a half a point is important. And what I wanted to show you, right? We'll go back to green zone habits for you. Where you can do this. You can do this in 30 seconds. You turn on the memory, and do you see how? Remember I said that because of you. I was talking about a habit can be a red zone habit or green zone habit. So you see that I'm using past thinking for good here, right? So we can do future memory too. I love calling them future memory. Most of us worry about the future. Will the shoe drop? Instead, it's like I don't know, I was trying to come up with a Cinderella shoe, like what would be a positive way to say, but it's like you can come up like, oh, my meeting went great and it was incredible. And you are the ones who become the regulator of your level. I call it your frequency. You get to choose how you do that. Does that make sense? You are the one who is responsible for your frequency. And so we have some team ones, and I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk about it. But this is, you know, like your HR, so reconnecting to the impact that you want to make in the world. You do a check-in. So what a lot of organizations do once they work with me is they start meeting by closing eyes, just checking in, where are you at? And then if somebody says, I'm red zone, it's like, do you need anything? Or people take care of themselves, right? And ask what matters. And, you know, these are all things, but I want to leave. And then personal, that's yours. Some people love to play golf. Some people love to play tennis. You get to decide. But remembering the final thing, which is come up with a variety of them, make them accessible, and just get to know yourself and try new things. Sammy does this thing, right? I don't know if you're complete with that, where you tried something new every day for how long? Tell us about that.
Last week, I tried out this new fitness thing called the Versa Climber. I don't know if you guys have heard of that before, but it's like a standing up elliptical, and it's really difficult. That was on a Sunday, and I decided, I'm like, I tried something new today, why not do this for 7 days? So I just made it a little challenge, and they weren't really big things that I did. One of them was staying off Instagram for the day, which was awesome because I doom scroll too, and it's not a good thing. But it was just challenging myself to make myself at least a little bit uncomfortable, because that's, you know, where strength and growth comes from. So, yeah.
The brain hates change. Our evolutionary brain wants to know what it can predict. So when you challenge yourself to do something new, you are challenging that red zone evolutionary brain, and you're starting to teach it that change is actually exciting. All right? Okay, so before we spend the last few minutes with questions, I have a stress resilience assessment that you are welcome to take. It is not mandatory. It's going to evaluate, take a picture of it. You can take it now. You can take a screenshot of it. What it'll do is it'll analyze how you're doing on health, mindset, emotions, collaboration, relationships, and then it'll give you resources about how to support your green zone life. All right, let's stop this and let's go. We have about 8 minutes. We can get questions, impact. You know, some of the questions that I often get is, what do you do when someone else is in the red zone? Anybody want to know that? Did that come up? So the single biggest thing, what do you think I'm going to answer? It's the biggest thing you can do when someone is in the red zone. Right? The biggest thing is to check yourself. Emotions are contagious. They're meant to be contagious, and it's something that we have to give ourselves compassion about. Because think about a herd of horses, like elephants, and the one elephant, or I don't know if elephants are the same, so I'll keep it to horses. I invented the elephant thing, but I imagine it's the same. Any herd, even if one horse from the herd hears something, they all run. And it's the same thing with human beings. We don't even know why we're scared or why we're suddenly in the red zone. But so regulating yourself is the single most important thing you can do. And so if you stay in the green zone, a couple things may happen. The other person will get regulated themselves because you're not engaging in the red zone fighting, or they might get really pissed because they really want to engage in the red zone fighting, right? Like, when somebody just wants to fight, and then you can say, hey, I need a few minutes and I need to walk away. And so, but regulating yourself is the single most important thing, because when we then go into the red zone, which is, it's the easy task to do. None of us want to do what's easy. That's going to be the least helpful. All right, who else? First of all, can you see this to be used at work? Who will bring this and use it at work? Yeah. What about home? Yeah. All right. And questions or impact? I'd love to hear. This is important time at this point. Yeah.
So recently, over the weekend, I had one of those out of the blue explosive moments, and beyond red zone, like just
volcano.
Yes, and the recovery time has taken days. I'm still recovering, and I haven't quite honed in and figured out how to recover. And we review all these things, but like the self-care and self-love, that gap I'm trying to really hone in on. It could be as simple as even public speaking. I don't like this. It makes me uncomfortable. And sometimes at work, I'm put in a situation where that fight or flight comes. It's a little different, but it drains me and I just get zapped. So what do you recommend for recovery?
What do you think is the biggest obstacle to your recovery? I'm going to throw it back at you. What is it? Like it feels like something is stuck in you. Like there's something you're unwilling to let go, or something, like something.
I think it goes back to that playing it over and over, picking it apart. I think it takes a toll on my sleep, and I think sleep is so vital, and I struggle with that to begin with. And I use everything I can, from magnesium to ashwagandha to whatever else there is out there. And it just, when this is firing, it's hard to turn it off. And then without the rest, it just perpetuates.
That's right.
And the recovery is days. It's just days.
Well, did you guys hear what she was saying, right? She's playing it in her head over and over again. You are literally staying stuck in the trauma loop. And so what is it that you need to give yourself to step off that loop? Can I tell you what I sense? But I might be completely wrong. Like compassion, forgiveness. Like there's something. It feels like, and I don't know if it's towards you or towards someone else that triggered you, but like there's like more red zone, the replaying it and doing like that. It's why you're stuck. You've got to find, so let's look real quick. I want to look at the green zone. So I want to make sure that I have humor. So there's a few things. So when you are in the red zone, right, the green zone habit can be finding humor, or finding compassion, or finding patience. Curiosity is probably the best green zone quality that there is. Like, you could be like, why did this happen? But I actually feel you need to stop playing the loop out and just say, this is complete. This is actually, and you will not learn from the experience from red zone playing out. It's only when you're in the green zone that you can then look at the situation and actually learn from it, if there's still something you need to learn from it. But like, let it go, bring yourself back to the green zone, and then if you still need to go back and engage with the situation, then engage with the situation. Yes?
I was going to give you an example. This is the reason that in human resources, we don't fire people on a Friday. because they replay that loop and they spiral. And I explain this to a lot of executives who, are always wanting to do things like that on Friday. I'm like, no, Wednesday, Tuesday, you want to give someone a chance to absorb, to potentially maybe come back to you and ask a question like, how do I apply for unemployment? Well, over the weekend, they can't do that. And so they replay the termination loop, and I've done, riffs of, sadly, hundreds, and you don't want to leave those folks in the loop.
In the red zone.
And I didn't connect that loop to your loop, but it's the same thing. And it's compassion that has you helping people not get into the loop. Now, once you're in the loop, then you have to deal with the loop. But I see how that is a reflection of that.
Yeah. I love that. And yeah, to be clear, you have to find a way to get yourself to the green zone before you tackle if the problem is still there. If you're in the red zone, you can't. So we actually have to step away from the situation, right? Like I think he's gone, but he was talking about he goes to take a walk. Then I can go back into a conversation with my partner. If I stay, usually I'll get triggered. So just let it go, find a way to bring yourself back to green, and then if you need to face the situation again. So I imagine you know how to get yourself to green. Yeah, okay.
Those of us in HR are very empathetic, solution-oriented. We're always trying to find the solutions. There's a world right now where there's a whole lot of uncertainty, and to your point, people are not comfortable with change. And we find ourselves in positions of being change leaders. When we find individuals or a group of folks who become comfortable living in the red zone and just have learned to live that way, what are some tools for us as leaders that we can help a group of people pull themselves back out of that red zone and more getting better in the yellow or the green?
Yeah, I mean, you're giving me an the simplest, wisest answer I can give you is have them take this work. Because you can be an embodiment of the green zone. So again, goes back to you being that and modeling that. And just like red zone emotion is contagious, so is green zone emotion. But it's really teaching this work so that, because people often don't even recognize, I think you know that, I think that's partly what you're saying, they don't even recognize in the red zone. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if your organization is comfortable with like drop-ins, like, hey, let's take a few moments to breathe. It seems like we're all stressing out a lot. Like, what can we do? Or talking to somebody in the hallway, is there anything you need? I'm not really sure, except you being green zone and then trusting what solutions come from you, not from the people pleasing, right? But from the green zone self. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Was the direction I was heading. It can be overwhelming if I pull myself into like, look at this task at hand, and I just have to regulate myself and consistently model that behavior and pull people away from the whack-a-mole behavior that has been consistent over the last 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, with first responders, who are probably the most stressed out population, maybe apart from doctors, in a 4-hour training, in an 8-hour training, they learn this work and start learning to apply. So I also have a 7-week training, but it's not even that. It's like people just have to realize it, and realizing that they have to recognize they're in it, and they recognize that that's not the way they want to live. And that's the biggest thing that I try to, you don't have to live this way. And an organization doesn't have to function this way. Yeah. And I know it's 10:30. So Joni, anything you want to say? Oh, no, I'm sorry. You go for, yeah, Jill, right?
I'll make it fast. You mentioned in terms of step 1, stop.
Yes.
And I've heard a couple of different schools of thought on this, but what's your take on just mentally saying it versus saying it out loud?
Good one. Well, it depends where you are. Anytime, this is almost why I wanted you all to share in the group. The moment you bring voice, you're even more anchored into your commitment. So if you can say it out loud, great. Like stop. But I even say it out loud inside myself. Right? It's like stop. And I cannot tell you how many times just the stop has helped me. When I go to college reunion, I become 18 years old. You know how some of us, when we go back to our parents or whatever, and I literally, the whole world becomes distorted. I think I'm the college girl that nobody likes me. And I'm just like, stop. I'm seeing the world in a distorted way. And just that awareness, remember, you can't think clearly, see clearly, or act clearly. So great question. Yes, if you can say, same thing, I am safe. I am safe. Saying it out loud, it just amplifies the commitment. So thank you. All right, I think we're it.
Yes, we are it. Yay, Isabelle. So I started my story by saying I met her 5 years ago. I still hold the same buckets, still have family issues with brothers, still married to the same guy who's now retired home more than ever. But through using this work for myself when I learned it, it changed my life. It changed my life. It changed my life from being separated physically from my husband, you're not my husband, but separated physically from my husband where I did not want to be part of his life, to holding hands with him as we fell asleep at night. But I still have the same buckets. So I practice this work. Now what I will share with you, and this is in response to your question, my family knows this language. I have a daughter who she knows the red zone. She doesn't practice the steps. She can language it, but she doesn't practice the steps. It's through practicing the steps and saying, I'm in the red zone, stop, breathing, finding the feel-good habit, and doing it as a practice that makes the difference. It's one thing to have the language, it's a whole different thing to actually practice it like anything else. So
yeah, and I'm going to totally be paradoxical with what Joni said. Just a kid having the language and say, Mom, I'm in the red zone, you say to your kid or your partner, I'm in the red zone. I had a VP last week after I spoke to this organization. He came to me, he goes, thank you for finally giving me the language that I can tell my wife, hey honey, I'm in the red zone, can I have a few minutes? Or at work, I'm in the red zone, I need a few minutes before I make this decision. So yes and yes, even the language helps, even if you don't know how to help to get yourself out. It does,
and even when my daughter says she's in the red zone, I understand then that it's not time for me to go in and poke further. I step back and I take the breath, and I model taking the breath, and then we find our way. But it's the language and the practice.
But
so,
practice.
Isabelle.
It's like you just got a great tennis coach today and then you leave and you never practice tennis. So it's the same thing, right? Practice. And hopefully you signed up to get the assessment, and reach out to me anytime because I love to hear impact. All right. Thank you so much.